What's good, y'all? It's Kai.
It's Dion.
And we're back with Let's Really Talk About It, Gen X and Gen Z. And today we're talking about relationships and how to maintain them.
Exactly. This is episode 2. Welcome back. We're happy that you're coming back to join us. And we're just going to get started. So the first thing we're going to start with is relationships. We're just talking about the differences, maintaining relationships, and things like that.
So starting off first, relationships with your parents. Sometimes that could be tricky. Sometimes it could be the best thing in the world. Sometimes your parent is your best friend, and sometimes they're your biggest op. So it really just depends on how it was growing up and how they raised you and what kind of environment they raised you in. Me personally, I have a great relationship with both of my parents. I don't really have any complaints. Thank God. I praise God for that every day. My parents are really my best friend. And the reason for that is they always, as I grew up, they always grew with me, if that makes sense. They realized, I'm only getting older, so they made sure to never treat me like I'm always in the same spot.
Right.
If you get what I mean by that. You always made sure, to keep up with, the things that come with the age in which I was, no matter what.
Exactly, but I'll be honest, as a parent, that could sometimes be hard. Still to look at your child, sometimes you look at them still as a child. Meanwhile, they're 25, they're 30, they're 20. And sometimes I don't think parents know that their child is growing and they're a young adult, and now it's time to have a different type of relationship.
Yeah, and also I feel like parents have to remember that their child is their own person. You can want the world for them, and that's amazing and that's great as a parent. I hope every parent feels like that about their kid. But at the same time, you have to realize, they're their own person and they're going to make their own decisions and their own choices. And sometimes it may not align with what you see for your child, but I feel like it's really important to still support them. I mean, you obviously are going to feel how you feel, and you can always talk to them about that as well. But I feel like at the end of the day, I feel like support is needed regardless.
That's the whole thing. The problem is that in relationships, it usually with parents and kids, or parents and children, and parents when their kids become young adults, I think that because we are the protector, we are the provider when you're growing up, and we want so much more for you. When you choose something that doesn't align with what we think should be for you, and sometimes parents don't know how to accept the fact that you're your own person.
Yeah.
And you're going to make the mistake or not. Right? You have to have your own experience. And that's where I think, because we know sometimes we've been through certain things and we know how it can end, not necessarily mean it's going to be your end. Right? But we have seen it, and so we can give you those tools listen, we know this happened and this happened. At the end of the day, you have to make that decision and live with those consequences. I think a lot of times parents get upset and they take it personal.
Yeah.
Right? They take it personal, and now everyone's upset.
Yeah.
And so that is a problem.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like I get it, but at the end of the day, it's their life. And I feel like what causes disconnect is when parents don't realize that. It only makes the child more distant, because they feel like you don't understand, or you're not attempting to understand where they're coming from or why it is they want to do X, Y, and Z, whether it's a career choice or a life choice, or they want to move, or whatever the case may be. It really just comes down to whether or not, even if you don't necessarily agree, if they feel safe even coming to you with these life-changing decisions or whatever the case may be. Even the small decisions, like if they want to dye their hair, you know, it just depends on the age range and what's a big decision and what's not. But I feel like the support has to be there, and the willingness to unlearn certain things as far as like how you may have grew up, or you know what you are accustomed to, because times are always evolving and changing, and what may have not been acceptable or what may have been taboo back then is not as outrageous in this day and age, or at whatever time period the child is going through, you know.
It's true. I think that I can only speak for Gen X. Gen Xers, and me and you had this conversation before, Gen Xers was raised with almost like an iron fist. Not to say it was right, but this is what we knew. Do as I say, not as I do. Like, just listen to that, right? I'm telling you better do what I'm telling you to do, but I'm doing the total opposite of that. So I'm not leading by example, but I'm telling you, if you don't do that, it's going to be a problem, right? Also, I brought you into this world and I'll take you out. As a little girl, that became like trauma for me, because my mom said that to me, my brother, and my little sister. Not so much her. She didn't get it as much for whatever reason. But me and my brother did. So as growing up as a child, just think about that. I brought you into this world and I will take you out. In my mind, I was like, my mother gonna take me out, like kill me? And I know she didn't mean that, right? But you don't know that as a child. So you are absorbing all of that. And so what that told me is I'm not doing A, B, and C at all. Right? And I'm not here to bash anything, but what I am telling you is that I knew that I'm not going to say that to my daughter, right? Like, I'm not going to tell her I brought you in, I'm going to take you out, because literally they're going to believe that as a young child growing up. And so I'm saying all of that to say we were brought up differently as Gen Xers. And then Gen Zs come along, and now, you know, they just have a different way, right? And I have to be honest with you, Kai. Gen Zs are extra sensitive. I think they're extra sensitive because way we were brought up, if we would have said those things to you guys, I don't think a lot of kids would have made it.
Because it's not okay to talk to your child like that, and we understand and realize that, so we're not going for it. I'm sorry, like. If you love somebody, why would you threaten them? Whether you mean it or not, whether it's an empty threat or not. If you love someone, why would you threaten someone to the point where now they don't feel safe around you? Like, as a parent, I feel like you're supposed to be your child's safe space. And by you telling them certain things like that, that's doing the complete opposite. I'm sorry. Like,
and it's a fear tactic, right?
Yeah.
We were raised with a fear tactic. And my generation... we were raised with a fear tactic. A lot of it worked. Sometimes it didn't. But being raised, for me, my opinion, being raised with a fear tactic, right? Now you're afraid of everything, right? I was a child that was afraid to look a certain way or do a certain thing because I just knew like what my parent expected of me and what she wasn't going for. So I think, and we could take this further. She was raised that way, right? And then the fact of the matter, we could take it even further. How the slave masters put fear.
That's really where it comes from, y'all.
Put fear in our people and our ancestors. And it trickled from generation to generation. Unfortunately, us continuously moving with that trauma and pushing that trauma on every generation, which is very unfortunate. And believe it or not, a lot of people are still doing it. Let's be clear about that, right?
That sucks. And what I will say is, though, I feel like we're not. I don't feel like we're sensitive. I really feel like we just advocate for ourselves in a way that your generation is not used to. So it comes off that way because at the end of the day, like if somebody on the street talked to you like that, you would be ready to fight. You would have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. So it's just like if I feel like as somebody who's supposed to love me, of course I'm gonna feel some type of way if you talking to me, saying things that hurt my feelings. That's gonna hurt extra. I'd rather it be from a person I don't know than somebody that's supposed to love me.
That's true. That's true. I agree with you 100%. But I'm going to back up to that. I still believe that your generation is a lot more sensitive than we are. Whereas we just took things and kept it moving. We didn't say. So I agree with you that you guys speak up. But a lot of things that, now they made it so relevant, the bullying, we got bullied every day like it was supposed to be okay. It wasn't okay,
and that's not okay either. I listen, when I tell you everything that y'all went through, I don't agree with in the slightest. I don't, and that was never okay. And it makes me sad that y'all feel like that was okay, because a lot of y'all do, and it's really not. And y'all are made to be so tough that when people are vulnerable and are, honest about what hurts and what doesn't, it's seen as soft, when really, had y'all had the opportunity to do so, y'all would probably agree. It's just the way y'all was raised. Y'all don't get it, because there was no, being vulnerable and open and honest when it came to certain things. It was like, you just got to eat it and keep it pushing. That's just what it was. And I hate that. And I feel like that's the reason why a lot of, I don't want to say a lot, because God forbid, I hope not, but many parental and children relationships struggle because of the difference, the vast difference. A lot has changed, from your generation to my generation. And I feel like that's where the disconnect lies, especially because your generation is so used to, I said what I said, and that's just what it is as parent, dealing with parents. And so you continue that because that's all you know. Mm-hmm. So with us, it's just but I don't want to do that. And I feel like I should have the right to be able to say that because it's my life. But that's foreign because y'all didn't have that choice. Y'all had to be extra grown and on your own and paying your own bills and have your whole life set up before you could really start saying what it is you're going to do and not going to do.
True. I for one had to grow up extremely fast, right? So I didn't have a chance to sit around and say, oh, I don't really like that. No, there was no room for that. And I'm first and foremost to say, I didn't like the way that felt, right? I didn't like the way that felt. I did not. So I made my mind up early, before you were even born, that I needed to see what is it that I need to do something different.
Yeah.
Far as a relationship, because at the end of the day, yes, she's my daughter. Yes, I carry her for 9 months. Yes, I birthed her, chose to bring her into this world, was my responsibility, but she's her own human being. And I think a lot of us, me included, because of my mind and how I was raised, I think we forget that, right? That's my child. But your child is a human being that has to grow up and make choices. And that I only learned as I grew. Because again, I know from the way I was raised, but at the end of the day, she's still Kyla. Yeah. Besides my daughter, she's gonna always be Kyla, just like I'm gonna always be Dion besides Flora Lee's daughter. But again, that is a learned behavior, and I don't think that I won't say all of it, but a lot of our generation didn't get. And I think that that's where, as you said earlier, is our disconnect, right?
Yes.
Disconnect with our children as they grow. And we're hoping that this will be like, hey, let me just rethink about this a little bit. Not to say it's gonna work.
Right. Your life is your life, man. More power to you. But it might explain why certain things are the way they are, especially if, you've experienced disconnect within your relationship with your parent and or child. It really just trickles down to learned behaviors and whether or not you want to unlearn certain behaviors or try to understand. And even with my generation, like, the reason why, I don't fault anybody for anything, because everything is a learned behavior. Like, you got that from somewhere.
That's right.
So I don't automatically be like, oh, they did that, they're a terrible parent, because at the end of the day, parents are still human beings too, with real feelings, real emotions, and the things that happen to them, they may not even realize that they're repeating with their child. They think they're doing better because they don't do everything that their parent did to them. And I feel like that in itself is great and needs to be recognized, because that's breaking some of the generational curse right there. You can't do it all. Unfortunately, it takes time, but at least you set the tone. You know what I'm saying? Especially you, like, mommy. Like, there's a lot of things that you said you wasn't going to do, and you were going to do, and you did do it, and you broke a lot of the curse right there. And I feel like you're a good example of what it means to at least try to adapt and, like, learn, more about being, I want to say, more open-minded.
There we go. I will say this, though, Kai. That took me some time, too. Like, I knew the things that I didn't like and that I didn't want you to experience. But I will say that as you grew, you helped me grow, right? Things that you brought to the table, I wanted to understand the why and how. And not so much, you better not. Or, Kai, there is certain rules, there's certain things you shouldn't cross, morals, values, those don't change. I'm not saying that at all. Kai, no, that we stand on those things, right? But at the same time, I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to understand where she was coming from, and even from stories from her friends and how they feel about situations and things like that. And again, that was something that I chose to do, be a little more open-minded, like you said. And as she grew, I grew, and I became a little more open, because I didn't know what that was. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know what that was, but I knew that I wanted to have a relationship with her and try to understand her. Not to say I'm going to agree with everything, because I don't, right? Let's be clear.
She don't be going for a lot of stuff. She do not be feeling it. She do not be feeling it. She be like, I don't like that. And I be like,
right.
Well, I understand.
Yeah, and that's what she'll say to me. I understand. But this is what we're doing, and this is how we do it. So, but with that being said, again, I'm just going to say that to say I had to learn to be more open and to be, willing to try to understand where they're coming from. Even if, and this could go for every relationship. Yeah. Even when you don't agree.
Yeah, that's the thing. You never want to force your opinion on somebody else, even when it's coming from a place of love. Because 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. It's coming from a place of love or concern or care. For the most part, I get that, and it's very much appreciated. The intent is good, but even when your intentions are good, sometimes the delivery or the way you're going about it is be a little wacky, and that's okay. We human, sometimes we so passionate. It's the passion, and
and I'm one for
concern and the care. You're just like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, no,
you can't see that.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
You don't know that.
You don't see that.
I'll be like, no, I didn't look at it that way. Yeah, that's what's cool though, because like you get different perspectives from each side. And then when I think about it, because Lord knows sometimes I really do not be wanting to hear what she have to say at that point, at that moment. I really don't. I don't. I'm sorry. I feel how I feel. But when I really sit there after I'm over, my big emotions or whatever, and I sit there and I really think about it, I be like, dang, she right. And then I just have to eat that and accept it for what it is, because at the end of the day, she's either speaking to me from experience, or she knows a friend who knows a friend, or she's seen it for herself with, people around her. You know what I'm saying? So I always, at the end of the day, I try my best to listen and take heed to what she's saying, even if I don't like the way she said it, or, I don't feel like she felt like, even if I feel like she didn't understand me, 9 times out of 10 she did, she's still just gonna say what she said. She said what she said, regardless. And I think that's cool, because at the end of the day, she don't be wrong. She really don't be wrong. And I feel like I'm gonna say this, our generation, we do gotta kind of try to listen a little better. We so mess around and find out driven that sometimes there's a lot of stuff that we could have avoided had we just listened, because 9 times out of 10 somebody did tell us. And we can't even cap and say they didn't, because they did.
They did. And again, like I said, I've learned so much from her and her generation, because I want to learn. I'm a very inquisitive, because I want to know, and she get that from me as well. I want to know the why.
Why?
Right? Because here's the thing, and this again could go in any relationship. I'm gonna tell a child, do not play with this glass. It's gonna fall. I gotta tell them why. Don't play with the glass. If I just tell you don't play with the glass, you're gonna say, well, what? Just don't play. You don't want me to play with them? Play with it anyway. Cause shh, and it breaks and they get cut, right? But if I say, Kai, don't play with this glass, because if it falls, it's gonna cut you. The why is what's gonna be like, well, maybe I better not.
Yes.
And I think that as parents, I'm gonna be honest with you, just don't do it, because I said don't do it. That's how I was raised. I said don't do it, and you're gonna do it anyway. Now you're gonna see the consequences. When in fact all you had to do is say, Dion, don't touch that stove. It's 375 degrees, and you're gonna burn your fingers. If I choose to do it after you told me that,
that's on me.
But I believe that with everything, everyone needs to know the why. Because when you give them a why, not to say they're going to listen all the time, but you gave them the why, so they can't ever come back and say, well, you ain't telling me that. Oh, I told you.
Yeah.
But you chose to do that, and now with everything comes a consequence.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that in every relationship, not only with parental relationships and children, even with siblings, when you have a sibling relationship, a lot of times siblings don't get along. And
that's unfortunate.
It could, and I don't always believe that it's the siblings against each other that don't get along. Sometimes it's parents. That is in the middle of why we have a sibling rivalry. Yeah. Right? Parents get in the way of that. Of them working out their own particular relationship. Yeah. Whereas maybe you kind of favor this one because this one is doing so well in school, or this one does everything you tell them to do, and then you shy away from the other one, and now this one is mad at this one. Right? So, again, I think, and that's a learned behavior too, because when people say they don't have favorites, I really pray that they don't. But do you?
That's cap. That's cap. I don't care, because every child get a different parent. I believe that. And I'm not even speaking from experience. I'm talking about I've had friends that have younger or older siblings, and I be around them, and I see it for myself. Each child gets a different parent, and it's based on the child's personality, obviously.
And I think they have to.
And I get that, but I don't like when the parent doesn't particularly favor the child's personality and they act cold towards them. That's where you lose me. You have to deal with each child a different way based on who they are. But just because you don't like how they may present themselves or may act, you treat them differently. That's kind of corny.
Yeah. And I agree with that. And then that happened. And guess what? By a parent doing that, it's going to hurt the children at the end of the day. It's going to hurt the children. And this one ain't going to like this one too much. And they're going to be going back and forth. And so, as far as a parent is concerned, they have a lot to do with the fact that sometimes that siblings don't get along with one another. And we don't take that accountability a lot of times.
Yeah.
But that right now I had my stepdaughter living with me and with us. So it was only one time that I had two children at the house at the same time. So, it was tricky because it was stepchildren, it was a child, and it was tricky. But I think with everything, when you lead with love, that changes everything.
I honestly feel like you treated Tay. Shout out to Tay, babe.
Tay, we love you.
I feel like you treated us the same as far as like experiences and what you taught us, and it was pretty much like we definitely like got the same parent for the most part. I would say, like, I don't know, you're gonna have to ask Tay.
Yeah, we're gonna bring Tay back.
We're gonna bring Tay back so she can speak on her experiences.
She can speak on her experience with me. Right?
I feel like she would agree.
Wow, praise God for that. I'm grateful. It again, that's a choice, and we all have choices, and I'm going to always choose love. No matter how it looks and how hard it gets, I'm going to choose love. So with that, we talked about parents and children. We talked about siblings.
Let's get to the nitty gritty. Romantic. Because I got a lot to say, and y'all probably not going to like it. And it is what it is.
What's your opinion? Hey, you got to say what y'all, you feel.
I feel like it should not be this complicated. Listen, there's no reason why it should be that complicated. And it's not always that complicated. That's how I know, because I have experienced love. I have seen it around me. And it'd be easy until it's not. And you know why? Because people are not being honest.
That's what you think it stems from?
Honesty. People are not being honest about what it is they truly want and don't want, and what their boundaries are. And a lot of people are people pleasers because they feel like people pleasing is going to get them what they want in the long run. But that's really not how you're supposed to go about that, because that's borderline manipulative if you really think about it. You're only doing certain things to get a certain reaction or a certain emotion out of somebody or a certain version of somebody when you don't really want to do it in the first place. It's not coming from a genuine place. It's coming from a place of, I'm doing this to get that. It's very transactional instead of just being honest about what you want from the jump.
I could see that. I mean, I've seen love. I've experienced love. I experienced heartbreak more than once. But I will say now, right now, as we speak, right now, I can only speak for now because that's what we are in right now. Right now, what I see, unfortunately, is I think a lot of people pretend. And what I mean by pretending, I'm talking male and female, because this is by no means are we male bashing. Everyone is pretending, and just to piggyback off Kai, no one is really saying what they want, right? You're not giving the other person the opportunity to say, I don't want that, right? You are kind of selling them what they want to hear a lot of times. And again, this ain't every relationship. I'm only speaking from some experience and what I see now. You telling people what they want to hear when in fact that's not who you are, and that's not even what you want for your life. And then you only could put that facade up for so long, because then you can't continue on. And so now it gets tricky in the relationship. Now people are upset and mad because you started this way, and in fact that's not who you are or what you really want. And so what happens is the relationship fails, because again, we're not being honest of what we exactly want in a relationship. Now we're talking romantic relationships. We're talking significant others.
But that can be applied to every relationship, because, when we love people or we really want people in our lives, we tend to sometimes not even think about it and just be like, I'm gonna just do this because I want them to feel like I care. Instead of just showing you care in your way, you try to mold yourself into something you find that they would deem desirable, or something that they would approve of, instead of just living in your truth and being who you are. Because if they really love you, they either gonna get with it, or if they can't get with it, they're going to have to accept it. If it's nothing too crazy, I'm all about boundaries. If it's too much for you, piece it out. But if it's something that can be, accepted because it is what it is, then that's just what it's going to have to be. Like, I am a firm believer in showing up as your authentic self in all your relationships, but especially your romantic relationships, because all facades come to an end. Speaking from experience, from somebody who has put on a facade and somebody who has seen through facades, it's always going to come to an end one way or another. So it's best to just be who you are and stand on what it is you are willing to accept and not accept, and what you are willing to do and not do, and just let it be that. And if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. I think people have a problem with letting stuff go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Let it go. Don't hold on to it. It's not even fulfilling you the way you need to be fulfilled. What are you holding on to? Hopes and dreams?
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, we come into relationships really wanting that relationship, right? You really want it. You see somebody, you guys have a couple of the same, likes, you like the same things, you got a good vibe, a good chemistry, all those good things. They look good to you. Let's keep it 100. They look good to you and all of those things. And then you're trying to be a pleaser and trying to give them everything that you can possibly do and be for them, meanwhile losing who you are.
That ain't it, Chief.
And it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work at all.
Pack it up.
Yes, because once you lose yourself, everything is lost.
It's done up.
Because you're at this point now, you're going to be miserable. Then you're going to become resentful towards the other person, when in fact you're the one who showed up this way, when you're the one who decided to be the pleaser. Dion decided to be the pleaser, and now you're miserable. Then you become resentful of the other person.
Yep.
And when you do that, the relationship is over.
You might as well just pack it up, like express shipping, because it's done.
And I think that we as a people have a hard time being honest and open. Being honest and open with the other person. By not telling the other person how you feel, because you're afraid of what they may say. Or what they may do.
Who cares? I mean, obviously you care,
Kyla.
But who cares? If you're not happy, then what's the point? I mean, if you have a problem with something and it's bothering you that bad, say something. Say something. Why are you struggling in silence to keep the peace, but it's really no peace? Because you have mad resentment for the person now, and now they public enemy number one, and they don't even know, because you don't want to say nothing.
Because you don't want to say
up. Coming from experience, because I did that a lot. I would not say nothing and let it build up to a point where I didn't even like them no more, and I just dropped them.
Which isn't fair.
I dropped them. I broke up with them. I said, yeah, I can't do this. I'm done. They're like, oh, what happened? Now I look like a heartbreaker in their eyes, and nothing was ever true and real. Meanwhile, I was just keeping tallies of everything that bothered me, to the point where I just blew up and decided it was too. I let it get to the point where it was too late to fix anything, because that's how much resentment I had for them. Don't be like me. Do not try this at home. Do not. Don't do it.
It ain't worth it. And
Speak up.
Yes, and after a while, it's time that we can't get back, because time is something we can't get back. Our precious time, because we don't know the day or the hour. And so, my suggestion is just show up as who you are. If they are for you, they're gonna accept you, and if they not, and then your person will get there. And if they don't, that's another story. Because all relationships begin and end with honesty. And as hard as it is, people think it's so easy to be honest. It's not.
No, being vulnerable sucks.
It really does.
But
to put
the
that
reward
guard down
is so great when you do. Because even if they don't accept it, at least you showed up for yourself. At least you advocated for yourself. At least you was 100% yourself, and there's nothing you could have did differently to make them feel any different, if you get what I'm trying to say. Like, it is what it is. They not feeling it. Somebody else will. Guaranteed.
That's a guarantee. It's a guarantee. And so that is number one in any relationship. No matter if it's with your children, you need to be honest with them. They need to be honest. They need to feel safe. And at the end of the day, if we said a little bit about it in our first episode, everyone wants to be seen, everyone wants to be heard, and everyone wants to be loved. Those three things you can't get by in any relationship. If you have those three things and both people in the relationship is giving all three of those things, that is a recipe for success. Unfortunately, we always drop one or two of them off on the corner.
We just sit them down so slowly.
So gently on the side. And then guess what happens? The cookies start crumbling.
Fast.
And then you like, what happened?
What happened?
We know what happened.
Yeah.
We know what happened. So that's all I got, mama.
Honestly, yeah. Just be you, and be honest, and stand on your boundaries. Do it. Stand on it. I mean, 2 feet planted, like not
Absolutely.
going nowhere. Like,
with every relationship,
compromise is everything. Compromise is important, because and not everybody's gonna see eye to eye all the time. But compromise, meaning compromise. You know what compromise means? Look it up. Compromise is not just being like, you know what, I'm gonna just do what they say because I don't want to lose them. That is not compromise. Okay? Take it from me. I'm literally on timeout right now from dating because of this.
Complete timeout.
I mean, like, she don't even want to hear about nobody. She doesn't want to hear it. Okay? So I'm learning my lessons now.
And she needs to take the time out for herself.
I don't like none of y'all anyway.
Come on. She doesn't mean that, guys.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love everybody.
That's her problem.
Yeah, I know. That is my problem now. Y'all don't need to be all up in my business like that. But, that's the key, though. Always be yourself. See? I'm just being myself. I'm just joking, y'all. But always be yourself, and always love yourself first. Put yourself first. Love yourself first.
Yeah, it's easier said than done at times.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. Everybody say they love themselves, and in fact, they be at the bottom of the list.
And that's sad, but work on it. Work on it. Just work on it.
I've done it, and I can say over the last 7 years, 7 years, or maybe a little less, I've been doing that, putting myself first, and I'm grateful for it. And at this big age, but it's never too late to learn.
Hello.
And so I'm a prime example of that. With that love starting with me, you can't love anybody else without having that within. No matter how you try. And so I hope that with this episode you got a little bit out of it, from our experiences and our perspectives as always. And don't forget to ask us any questions.
Please, let us know. Share your stories of, anything. I like to hear the juicy gossip. So if you got some, you can always share with your bestie Kai. I won't tell nobody. But if you agree, even if you disagree, tell us why. Yes. Tell us your thoughts on what makes a relationship great, whether it's platonic, romantic, familial. Let us know what you think, and
we'd love to hear it.
We'll see you guys next time.
We will see you next time. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks again for spending a little time with us. We didn't want to be too long-winded because we can go for a while. But we appreciate you, as like we always say. It's always love. What, Kai?
Remember to love always.
Because it's always love always.
All love always.
Peace, y'all. Have a blessed week, and we'll see you on the next episode. Until then,